Hi guys, welcome back to our channel. In case you're new here, my name is Maren.
And I'm Maureen.
Right, so in today's episode, you're going to be listening to Minister Farrakhan speak up about why the white supremacy system fears people like him. And he's going to be debunking this, which got me thinking, yeah? Have you ever seen that black folks who speak up against their own, I feel like they normally have a safety net where they don't normally face a lot of repercussions, but those ones who normally speak up for their community normally face repercussions and have a lot of problems in their endeavors.
Right, and you're also going to be listening to him as he stretches the importance of having more role models in the Black American community and in the Black community in general, instead of having one or two role models here and there who, when
something happens to them, you're left vulnerable, right? But the most important question today we are asking is, right, which he asked, and he's going to explain, why is it that the white supremacy system fears people like him, right? I feel like the answer is obvious, but it's going to be interesting hearing what he has to say, guys. Let us know what you think about this episode on the comment section. Also consider subscribing if it's your first time here. Let's watch and then we come back.
My question today is, the diaspora of African Americans in America is, we're growing exponentially, and you named Barack Obama, you named Malcolm X, and I'm going to name you, Minister Louis Farrakhan. These are all, men, representations. As a people, sometimes we look to our representations and forget to represent ourselves. So we put all the energy, all the power, all the burden on the representation. And then when the representation, I don't like to say the word die, disappear, it's like, oh, what do we do now? Martin's dead. Who do we look? Who's the next representation? Oh, Malcolm's dead. Who's the next representation? So on and so forth. So as a people, how do we better represent ourselves and not always, shift the burden of representation always to a specific figure, except for unilaterally doing it as one people?
Thank you so much. Beautiful. I got chills, brother. Our future is safe with men like you. I thank God for your question, and I thank God for you. I want to address the fear factor first. A liar will always fear the coming of truth. I want you to think about that. Because if those in positions of authority fear words that come out of my mouth, if those words are truth, what is there to fear from truth if you have told the truth?
All right.
What is there to fear from a man who teaches the truth if you have not lied and deceived the people, and you fear the truth from his mouth may wake them up to a great future in themselves? See, Jesus, I got to go back to Jesus now. The reason they feared him is because he spoke the truth.
Yes, sir.
And they were lying to the people. And that's why Jesus said, you shall know the truth, and the truth shall set you free. Well, if you are not free yet, who is benefiting from the ignorance that has enslaved our people? Somebody is benefiting from our ignorance. Now watch this. How much money came through the black community last year or this year? The economists say $1.1 trillion. That's a lot of money, brother. A lot. Don't you know that if 10% of $1.1 trillion stayed in our hands, that would be 100 billion, $100 million. What could we do? Think about it. With 100 billion, somebody is making a killing off of our foolish spending of our wealth. The money comes in our community. It doesn't even circulate one time before it leaves. So if somebody's going to tell the truth and wake black people up to how rich they really are, their poverty is in their spirit and in their disunity. And that's why Jesus said, blessed, not are the poor, blessed are the poor in spirit. For what happens? For theirs is what? That's what they fear. That somebody's going to wake us up and we'll know that the kingdom is ours and we are going to have to prepare to build it. That's what they're afraid of, son. Now, I want to say this to you. No good leader who knows he or she is finite does not prepare a group to take over when he is gone, so that the principles, not the charisma, not the personality, but the principles that a good leader builds his life on, they don't belong to that leader. They belong to every human being who will get those principles, live by those principles. And that is why, coming back to Jesus, you say, well, man, why you keep mentioning Jesus and you a Muslim? That's a good question. There's not a Muslim in this room that does not believe in Jesus.
That's right.
There's 1,600,000,000 of us on the planet. And I can tell you, every Muslim believes in Jesus. Right. You don't know Muhammad. So no, you can't believe in what you don't know. Nobody's telling you about Muhammad, but somebody taught us about Jesus. We grew up in the church, but our holy book, the Quran, mentions Jesus, the son of Mary, the Messiah. Wow. So how come you don't like Muslims if we love the man that you say you love, but you don't know or love the man that we love? It's because we know Jesus. We love Jesus. We know Abraham. We love Abraham. We know Muhammad. And we love Muhammad, because that's just one community of prophets. And every prophet, son, when they came, they put teachings and principles in others so that when they go, the work continues in the individuals. But here's what happened. You've heard of Marcus Garvey? Do you think that Marcus Garvey did not prepare for the day when he would no longer be here? Of course he did. Martin Luther King was a great brother. Look who was around him. There was Jesse. There was Abernathy. There was the Andrew Young. Just name them. They were his disciples. Now, many of you were not around when Dr. King was alive. What do you know about him? Oh, he said, I have a dream. Is that all? Is that all that Dr. King said? Why did they kill him? Because he was dreaming? They didn't kill him because he was a dreamer. They killed him because he was upsetting a status quo and infusing black people with courage to resist unjust laws.
Yes, sir.
But what happened after brother was assassinated? Ralph David Abernathy tried to continue the Poor People's March, but he wasn't as charismatic.
Right.
And what happened? Jesse went over here and formed Push. Brother Andrew Young became UN ambassador. Come on. They started offering us things that take us away from movement.
Right.
So when you go away from the movement dies. Reverend Al Sharpton, he's a brilliant man. I met him when he was just a teenager. Now, of course, he's on television. He has a regular show on MSNBC. So where's movement? Where's movement now? It's not there. It's not that Martin didn't leave people. It's not that Malcolm and Elijah Muhammad didn't leave people. They've reduced Martin Luther King to I Have a Dream.
That's right.
If you would go and look at that man's speeches and watch his evolutionary development, you would see that he was moving toward a goal, and just before he died, Harry Belafonte was with him, and he was in a very melancholy spirit. The rest of the disciples, they were enjoying themselves, and Harry Belafonte went to Dr. King and said, Dr. King, you know, why are you so melancholy? And according to Harry Belafonte, and other witnesses said the same, Martin Luther King said, I fear that I am integrating my people into a burning house.
Yes, sir.
So now, the great leader of civil rights, he's a dreamer. Malcolm, they reduced him to a slogan, by any means necessary. What did Malcolm teach that got him assassinated? See, Elijah Muhammad was Malcolm's teacher and my teacher.
That's right.
Elijah Muhammad is off the scene, but he's very present because he had a student
That's right.
that loved him enough to root myself in the principles that made him a great teacher and a great leader. You don't need to keep on looking to a man that's dead. But Jesus said it perfect. Boy, I keep coming back to the master.
So guys, welcome back. Let us know what you think about the video we just played you, yeah? You know, it's quite interesting. I feel like what I've gotten, the biggest takeaway I've gotten from Louis Farrakhan's teaching is the question he asked, why should you fear a man who teaches the truth, right? If you've told the truth, yeah? You should be for this man because they're out there teaching the truth. But the fact that they face so much resistance and threats means that definitely there's some lies that have been told out there that somebody does not want to be discovered, you know.
Right. And he also asked a very important question, which was, who benefits from the ignorance of the black community? Who benefits from the ignorance of the black community? And he also stretched on the fact that why is the black community usually ignorant? Because you are given things to distract you, like entertainment wise and any other thing to distract you from the lies that are being propagated out there or being pushed out there. And I'll take, for instance, here in Africa, the figures that were unalived for the truth they were telling. Someone like PLO, not PLO, but Patrice Lumumba, and someone like Gaddafi. Gaddafi knew the true potential. Yes, Tom Mboya of Kenya.
I was actually surprised that Tom Mboya and Martin Luther King were actually friends.
That is something I've grown in Kenya, and we've also studied about Tom Mboya, who was a political figure before his assassination. And I was only yesterday years old when I learned that he was friends with was it Martin?
Yeah,
Martin Luther King. You know, so when you see figures like Gaddafi for Africans here, you know, he was pushing some truths, and he was making Africans see that they could reach a potential or a level that for the longest time growing up, we were made to believe that we were incapable of reaching, you know.
Somebody somewhere was feeling good when Africans live in their ignorance, when they don't think that they can make something great off of their country, when they don't think that the raw materials they have in their country is capable of taking them to, you know,
they're capable of extracting them themselves and making something of them by themselves, you know.
And for the Black community, I feel like even when you look at, like, okay, what I'm asking myself is, what would have happened if we had more leaders like Malcolm X, Martin Luther King, and their likes? You know, what would have happened if we had more people like Louis Farrakhan, who spoke for the truth and were not afraid? Because the sad part about our societies normally is, when you have such people, you also have those ones who start well and then they become corrupted with power, or they get bribed with maybe a lifestyle change and they go for that instead, you know.
And that is why I do believe when Farrakhan says that we do need more role models and do need more leaders who speak about these things. I do understand what he's saying, you know, because right now, when you see the situation, let me just talk about Africa for a minute, right? When you see the situation that is happening in Africa, and to be precise, West Africa, it's very few leaders who are willing to stand up to the West, right? And they've faced threat of unaliving time and again, like Burkina Faso President Ibrahim Traore.
Yeah.
He has faced assassination attempts at least 18 times since he took office, you know. And if you compare that ratio to the number of politicians we do not have any leaders in Africa other than the 3 countries in West Africa.
Right, because when you look at the ones beginning with Kenya, where we are at right now, who would want to assassinate such a person who
complies?
Right, the good anyway. Guys, you get what I'm saying. So I feel like in today's society, I don't know whether you'd say right now Black Americans have a lot of Louis Farrakhan. Are there more of them, or do we say it has gotten to a point where the white supremacists have successfully gotten to a place where they're able to distract the masses, and not just Black Americans, but Americans in general? Because right now, you'll wake up and maybe Trump will be trending for one reason, and then there'll become a bigger news about a celebrity, and then people lose focus on what they were talking about that was actually important, you know.
Right. But what I can say for sure is right now, with what especially we saw with Charlie Kirk's death, is that white supremacists, their voices are becoming louder and louder day by day. And to that extent, I ask myself, what about the Black community? Do we have people who are speaking and who can be heard? And are there more leaders who are cropping up in the Black community?
Although I also have to say it's a little bit kind of difficult, being that they exist and survive in a system that favors white supremacy.
True.
And right now it's a question of, you know, it's not like, if it was, picture this, if it was dangerous for people like Malcolm X during those days, can you imagine how dangerous it is for such people right now? You know, because there are agendas out there that really people have, and it's serving them, that if a Black man comes up and starts talking about how this and this and starts teaching, that is what they do not want, you know. They do not want that threat. And I'll still emphasize on what he said. Why should you fear a man who teaches the truth, you know? And for you to get to a point where
there's a very famous line that Louis Farrakhan is known for, is a liar will always know what
Lie.
lies they've told. So
And
that is basically the reason why the liar fears the truth from coming up.
And don't even get me started with the lies they've told.
Right, and these very same liars who fear the truth from coming out, they're the very same people who control America, and they're the very same people who control Africa as well. Because I don't know, to some extent, I usually feel like the black community out there, not only the ones that are in Africa, the black community out there are somehow linked to the black Africans of the continent, you know, such that if someone from America who is black, if their eyes start getting open to the truth, and simultaneously that happens to someone from Africa, and simultaneously that happens to someone from Europe and the Caribbean. You see, this is a unifying factor. If their eyes are open, that the liar who's told a certain lie about these three communities won't let them joining hands and figuring them out.
Right, Malcolm X used to be a very, can I say, controversial figure. The things they used to say, him, Martin Luther, they used to, when they speak, these are people who commanded audiences, and the people who, when they spoke, they had great respect in the Black American community, and that kind of, audienceship, they didn't want that kind of audienceship. They didn't want these people getting the truth out there, because already they were talking too much. And the worst thing that can ever happen is what I normally say: when the black community, it doesn't matter from which continent you're from, when the black community comes together, and finally, when I come and show you my receipt, okay, let me just use an example. I go to a shop, right? I go to this shop and maybe I get an item. I was charged $5 for it, right? And then another person goes to the same shop and gets charged $10. Do you think the owner of the shop would want these two people comparing their prices?
Or to meet
And discuss, about the item they got, how much they loved it so much, they had to get it, and then to realize that they got charged different prices. Of course, he wouldn't want these two people to meet and compare their receipts. So I do believe that Africans have their own receipts to compare. Black Americans have their own receipts to compare. Caribbeans have their own receipts. Europeans have their own receipts to compare. So when you come together, definitely, much as you know who the big enemy is, the bad guy is in this picture, to what extent do you believe that the big guy is bad? When you start comparing receipts, it's when you actually know the true extent and where you should be focusing on. You get? And that is what they don't want to happen, because I remember there was a time we did an episode about past colonial atrocities that were committed in Kenya, and that was Kenya alone. Guys, a lot of people know about what happened in South Africa during the apartheid, but most people don't know what happened in the rest of the African countries.
Right? And I was so shocked in the comment section. Some South Africans, some Black Americans, and also Jamaicans. People identified with similar experiences of what happened, the torturing methods, that is, right? Because the colonization and slavery wasn't the same. People went through different struggles, but the method of torture was very similar. Like, these ancestors were all from the same place, let's just say that.
And their evil was all the same. So these are the kind of things we are talking about. If you get a black leader speaking about this in America, you get another one speaking about whatever in Africa, it's not going to be good for them. Gaddafi tried to tell Africans, and there's a lot of truth he was speaking about. Right now, people are looking back and they're like, if we had listened, probably would be like China, where right now we'd be respected.
And we'd have been able to get ourselves from under the grip of whoever is holding Africa right now.
We'd be able to walk into negotiation rooms with equal rights, and equal power to make negotiations. Had Gaddafi had support from other fellow black people in Africa, and had he come through with his plans, I feel like Africa would be far much ahead. But that is something they didn't want. Exactly, that is something they didn't want, and he ended up the way he ended up. And that is why also Martin Luther King and Malcolm X ended up the way they did. So, like, definitely you see why they should be afraid of people like Farrakhan. They don't like when you're coming to, they say let sleeping dogs lie, right? But they want all of us to stay ignorant, and even if
they
you know
don't
something,
want, they don't want anybody to be woken up
because they're benefiting from the ignorance that is running around,
Right.
Yeah, but guys, let us know what you think about this. Definitely, I'm in support of more African leaders should stand up, and more of them should leave people behind that will take over their positions should they not be able to, should they be in a position where they're not able to teach anymore, But also, I don't blame the ones who feel scared or feel like that's such a huge task to give somebody, because at the end of the day, you have to think about your safety. You have to be really, really selfless for you to take on that role, to become a role model of our minority community, if that makes sense.
So guys, let us know what you think about this episode. Also consider subscribing if you're new to our channel, and we'll see you on our next episode.